Hey guys, Troy from Sonoran Spores here. I want to thank you guys for coming to our YouTube channel. A little bit about ourselves. My name is Troy. I'm the owner, the founder of Sonoran Spores. We've been selling mushroom genetics for close to 7 years now, as well as San Pedro genetics as well. We're making this YouTube channel kind of to help people along with some of the products that they purchase from us, and as well as to just get to know some of our customer base. And if you're into San Pedro or mushroom genetics, this is a great channel for you to come follow along. So today we'll be going over how to repot some San Pedro seedlings. We over here have been selling it for so long, but we've never made a video about how to actually pot it up and then where the light conditions and that type of stuff should be. So we've been getting a lot of requests and a lot of questions about that. So this video is here to help clear up and help walk some of the people along with how we could repot some of the cactus that we get after you've purchased it from sonoranspores.com. And if you want to look as good as I do while you're gardening, make sure you check out our website as well. We sell all of this merch on there. So come along with me and we'll show you exactly what to do with some of these cactus. All right, so we're gonna briefly go over some of the supplies that we'll need. This is what a cactus will look like if you buy it off of our website. They ship bare root, and this is about a year old. You won't usually get a San Pedro seedling from anybody under a year old. You usually want it to be at least 1 year. And it's ready to go into a pot. Usually I use red solo cups because those are the cheapest types of pots that I could do. And then I'll just poke some holes in the bottom of it, like 4 or 5 holes, so that it has drainage. We're gonna be using gardening soil. So this is your typical like lettuce plant, tomato plant style gardening soil. Very rich in nutrients. And then we have cactus soil here. We're gonna use that to kind of supplement our gardening soil, make it a little more cactus-like. These types of cactus come from South America, and they come from a different desert where it does kind of rain a little more frequently than you would think a desert would. And the soil is more rich in nutrients than normal desert soil is. So we're gonna be putting 2 parts of gardening soil in it, 1 part cactus soil, if that makes sense, to give it a little more nutrients. And then we're gonna break it all up with perlite here. So we're gonna use perlite because it's very cheap. It'll improve drainage, as it says there, and aeration. The more air that touches the roots, the more the root system can grow, and the quicker it drains, the less likelihood we have at root rot. Root rot is probably the #1 killer of San Pedro, so that drainage is important. Now we're gonna be adding 2 parts gardening soil, 1 part cactus soil, and then half a part perlite. If you need more perlite, I usually eyeball it. You can always add more after you've mixed, but it's hard if you add too much perlite at the beginning to take perlite out. So I always add a little less than I need to. So we're gonna measure all that on out, and then I'll cut to us mixing it all together. So here we are, we just measured out all of our soil. Right here we got the organic soil. You can see there's a lot more woody chips into that. We're gonna try to take out these large wood chips because the cactus don't usually like that, and it can lead to root rot. So we'll throw that on out of there. Here is the sand, the cactus sand. You can see that's a lot grittier, and it's not gonna hold on to moisture as well. So with adding that in, it'll help the water run right through the substrate and make it a quick draining substrate, which we would like a lot for cactus. If you add too much of this organic matter, the water can tend to stay in the soil a little too long, which will cause root rot, and that is something that will set us back a lot. We're trying to avoid the root rot. The reason why I'm adding these and not an additional manure or another fertilizer is because they are seedlings. If these were adult cactus, I would typically add about the ratio of perlite with manure, some steer manure, and I just throw that in top of that. But since these are seedlings, they're not gonna need too much nutrients, and just these potting soils will have enough nutrients for them to thrive until it's time for them to be repotted next year. So this should do it for the year, and then we'll mix all of this together and we'll be back to show you what that's like. So as you can see, we just got the soil nice and mixed up, and the perlite ratio and all of that is looking great. This looks like amazing seedling soil. As you can see, it's very nice, light, and airy, which will lead to fast draining soil, which cactus need. And there's still plenty of nutrients all throughout it for your little seedlings. What I was doing to achieve this is I'd find little clumps like that. I'd take these little dirt clumps and I'm breaking every little clump up to make it as fine as I possibly can. Once you get that achieved, you're ready to go and we can pot up some of these seedlings. All right, so here we are. We got our little seedling that you can find over at sonoranspores.com. As you can see, we have two different colorations of green here. We got a dark green on top, and then it goes lighter on the bottom. Now this point right here, where it goes a little lighter, that's all going to be under the soil. We want to make sure that all of the lighter part is buried under the soil. It can throw it off if you don't bury it deep enough. Like if you buried it right there, it'll mess with the growth. So we want to make sure it's buried all the way up to that point. We're going to take our new solo cup, and we want these roots to be airy. We don't want them all squished to the side. We want them right in the middle. And I hover the seedling at that line that I was talking about earlier, and then I'll put all the soil in around it. Now to put the soil in as the seedling is hovering here will help stretch those roots out on it, and because of the roots stretching out on it, it'll help the seedling get acclimated and established a lot quicker in our new environment. So as you can see, I'm keeping it all nice, light, and airy too. We're not trying to get any clumps or anything like that in there. Bada bing, bada boom. Don't be afraid of the thorns. They're not too bad at this age. So now you can see it's kind of repotted a little too deep. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just grab it and just pull it up a little bit. Now that I've pulled it up, we can expose some of this green down here that'll help the cactus grow. And bam, just like that, we got ourselves a nice cactus, potted up, ready to go into the acclimated conditions, which we will go over next, where we're gonna wanna put one of these guys so that he can grow and be acclimated. All right, now that we got our little dude all potted up, let's talk about the light conditions that they're gonna wanna be in. So usually when you get one, like I said, they're about a year old by this age. If you get one from a vendor that sells them very flawless or very little marks or scars on the cactus, they're typically grown inside in grow lights for their first year. That gives the growers like us a little more room to play with the length of the day and all that kind of stuff to really let these seedlings thrive. So most seedlings are going to come from inside in grow lights, and we're going to need to acclimate them to the outside sun. The sun is a lot stronger than these grow lights typically are. What we'll do for that is we're going to avoid any direct sunlight for the first 2 weeks. So that first 2 weeks you get your seedling, you get them all potted up like this, you're gonna wanna put him somewhere where he's not gonna be making eye contact, as I say, with the sun. So if you put yourself right where your cactus is, can you look up and stare directly into the sun? If you can, it's too much light for them right off the bat. What I typically will do is, as you can see, I planted this teepoo tree here. This teepoo tree here will shade them for most of the day. And this is my little acclimating spot. As you can tell, I got all my little guys down here when they start acclimating. Once they've acclimated for a couple weeks, I'll start throwing them into areas where they'll get morning light, not afternoon light. So they'll get about an hour to 2 hours of that morning light, straight on light, no filtering any of the sun or anything like that. And then once like 10 o'clock hits, they're usually getting filtered sun. It's important to know if you're gonna filter the sun, as you can see, I have like a shade cloth here. This is perfect for filtering sun. You're gonna want something that's at least 50% shade for these seedlings' first round of acclimation. If they're getting like 30% shade, they might burn. And one thing that we'll wanna do is we're gonna keep an eye on them. While they're over here, we're gonna watch them every day and make sure that they're acclimating right. The signs that they're acclimating right is that they look normal. If they start to get purple, that means that they're getting either too much sun or it's getting too cold at night, and I would bring them in, or I would find a more sheltered place for them. If they're starting to get really dry and skinny, that's fine. You don't want them to get skinny for months and months, but they can get skinny while they're acclimating to it, and it's not going to be an issue. So don't freak out if it starts shriveling up a little bit. They are cactus. They're built for no water for a long time, and they can still do fine with that. So we're going to put it somewhere for the first couple weeks with barely any sun. Next couple weeks, a couple hours of that morning sun. And we're going to keep acclimating a couple hours every couple weeks of morning sun until we get to about the seedlings are full shaded by noon. So we'll get all morning sun until noon, and then hopefully they'll be shaded by then. And that will be the perfect point for them to thrive, at least here in Phoenix. If you live somewhere like California, where it's a very cloudy area and there's a lot of clouds all the time, they can get away at the end with getting full sun throughout the day as long as it's clouded sun. But you still need to acclimate them slowly, week by week, as I discussed earlier. So once you do that, they should be good to go. And now I'll go over some watering tips for the pros. All right, so here we are inside the seedling room where we keep all of our little San Pedro seedlings. I'm going to show you guys some of the water techniques because I do believe the watering techniques are a little bit different for San Pedro seedlings versus the adult cactus. And this will be the easiest way for me to show you. So over here we have what's called the bottom water method. You can see there's a bunch of water all in the bottom layer of this, and then I put the soil on top of the layer. What that is going to do is it's going to allow the water to soak in a lot better than if I were to top water, which I will give you a little bit of a demonstration here. So let's say that this is your soil and you start pouring in water. You can see how it's kind of just sticking to some of these spots and it's not evenly distributing across the whole soil. You can see the water is already dripping out the bottom and we barely put any in it. If I go to the top, most of that is dry with some wet clumps in there. Now those wet clumps of soil is where those roots are gonna start growing prolifically for your cactus. If you come on over here though, this whole thing, if I go underneath it, that's all wet. It is all very moist. Evenly throughout the entire substrate is all very moist. And that's because we're bottom watering it. So if I take it on out here, you can see the water is a lot more evenly distributed with the bottom water method than it is with the top water method. Now this isn't usually an issue for adult cactus, but I do think that if you're growing seedlings, a good bottom watering at least once a month will help their roots spread out evenly across the soil and help them get as big as possible, as quickly as possible. So that's kind of the difference between watering. Now we've gone over all of the planting conditions and all that sort of stuff. So I think you guys should be good to go to plant these and grow these out at your house. I'd love to hear about how some of your growing projects go. If you want to reach out to me at troy@sspores.com. We love to hear good feedback. And until next time, guys, please stay tuned for the next update. Thank you.